Support business openings safely through COVID-19. No, close everything up. Increase the number of Supreme Court justices. They want to do that. Eliminate the Electoral College. That's wonderful. Let the state of New York and the state of California elect everybody. Boy, that'll be beautiful. And make Puerto Rico a new state. Do you see how radical and how disastrous this would be to our America? All in the name of power. Socialism always starts like this, folks. Ask anybody who's lived in a country that has moved from a democracy to socialism and then to a dictatorship. It happens every single time. Well, we're talking about, let me say exactly what we're going to lose quickly here. We're going to lose our 4 freedoms. We're going to lose our 4 freedoms, all 4 of them. First of all, the freedom of religion. Well, surely we wouldn't lose freedom of religion. Oh, yes. You know what the Equality Act is? Already passed by Pelosi in the House. It's not law. The Equality Act says something very interesting. The Equality Act says that everybody should be given equal access to everything that is in our planet. Now, what has come to be seen by so many is that religious liberty is seen as a cover-up for prejudice, a cover-up for bigotry, and that is how it's interpreted. You say, well, how in the world does that happen? Someone comes to me and they ask me to marry them and they're of the same sex. And I would say, I'm a Christian. I think that is not biblical. I'm sorry, I cannot do that. I cannot do that. And that, under the Equality Act, would be a thing. I'm discriminating against that couple. Therefore, I've broken the law. What about freedom of speech? Do you realize if we were in Canada or in Europe, and we would simply stand up and say, this as Christians is what we believe, in Canada and Europe, that would be called hate speech. It's against the law. And I would either go to jail, pay a big fine. That's what hate speech is. Hate speech is what you believe, I don't believe, what I believe, what you don't believe. It would be categorized as hate speech. And then you lose the freedom of speech. Already, so many of us are frightened that we'll say the wrong word at the wrong time to the wrong person. And all we have to say is use that magic little phrase, oh, I'm being pressured. I'm being disfigured. I'm being not understood. The freedom of speech is already rapidly being taken away from us, and it will accelerate to warp speed. I promise you that. Our second freedom is gone. Well, what about freedom of the press? I mean, I'm telling you, we've got plenty of that. How does anybody lose a freedom, by the way? How does your children lose their freedom? Well, you let them go so far, and you cut them loose and they've been free, and then they begin to make wrong choices, and you call back their freedom, don't you? So I remember Ed went out with a car the first time he took a car out on a date. He came in about an hour late. He lost a lot of his freedom. That's what happens when you exploit freedom and you misuse freedom, you lose it. And that's exactly what has happened to the press today. Listen, the press is supposed to what? Tell us exactly what happened, objective as they can, and then you can have talking heads who can comment and make anything they want to say of what happened, but at least tell us the facts. And our press is not doing that. A whole hunk of our press is not doing that. They're just not choosing to report things. This is where we live. And therefore, all these media outlets, you got Facebook. You know how many subscribers there are to Facebook? 2.2 billion. Did you get that? 2.2 billion, which is roughly 1/4 of the population of the entire world. And when they decide to discriminate, against conservatives or alien views, you are living not in the United States where there's freedom of speech. You have moved to Russia and you've moved to communist China because that's exactly what they do. Exactly what they do. We will lose freedom of the press because the press has not been responsible in their reporting. The last freedom that we'll lose is the freedom of peaceful assembly. Well, how are we going to lose that? There's a lot of things you and I might want to march on, and I've marched. I've been out in the streets. We want to march on, but now we go and have the right of peaceful assembly to express what we think is wrong in the government or in the courts. We can't have a march of peaceful assembly because Antifa and others will co-opt that, and all of a sudden we'll not be in a peaceful march, we'll be in a riot where things are being destroyed and burned, and it has anarchy in its bottom. So we can't have peaceful assembly anymore because it'll be taken away from us, as it has been in march after march and march and city after city. So we lose our fourth freedom. All four freedoms, I think, are on the ballot